what we're about. So I would like to introduce Anne. You'll see my icon moving, but as I explained, that's because she's on my phone. Anne's going to be talking about graduate nurses using Moodle and Mahara with the District Health Board. So over to you, Anne.
Okay, just a quick, how do I get my session back? I'm Anne Stevens. I'm from the Bay of Plenty District Health Board. I work within the education area of the clinical school. And this presentation really covers what we've been doing with e-portfolios within the Moodle environment. We've been using Moodle for a few years, and just late last year we took our graduate nurses through using Mahara for the first time. So this is really our experience and what we learned from it, and yeah, it's what we're just hoping to share. So a DHB, a District Health Board, if we go to my, sorry, this is just an awful start to the presentation. Here we go. So what a District Health Board is in New Zealand is we're a Crown entity, and we are funded to provide health and disability service. So part of that funding goes to run the hospital, and part of that funding also goes out into the community for aged care facilities and things like that. So we have a joint responsibility. We have to, as a Crown entity, we have to break even or face very tight financial constraints. And we as a DHB have broken even 7 years running. So we have quite a wide geographical area, so we're geographically dispersed. We have people very rural and people in town. And we have 18 iwi, so iwi is our tribal, our Maori tribe, so we have 18 iwi within this area, and we're the second fastest growth rate of all the New Zealand DHBs. So what we try to do is gain efficiency through innovation and redesign, and part of our, if you like, our training requirement comes through complying with legislation and also professional body requirements. So our nursing and doctors have to meet a certain range of competencies to get their annual practicing certificate. So as well as complying with legislation, a nurse has to say how they are remaining competent and prove that to Nursing Council. So that's a little bit of a background there of what we're doing. For a profile of a graduate nurse it's a supported program that they come to. So they come out of their Bachelor of Nursing, so they've done their 3 years of study, and they come out into a very structured and supported program as a first-year nurse. And at the end of that program, the Nursing Council wants to make sure that they are meeting the competencies as a competent nurse. And we do that, they produce a portfolio to meet those competencies. So the graduate nurse themselves, they come from a wide range of backgrounds. So they're not all school leavers coming into a program. They can have a wide range of skills. They come from a wide range of academic institutes, both nationally and internationally. So they have varying levels of exposure to engagement with web-based applications and IT thingies. So it could be anyone really from a school leaver to those who are on a second or third career pathway. And it's clear from working with this cohort that some have the capacity to readily engage and others need to develop a new set of skills. Okay, so what we did, what our plan was, and we'd already been running portfolios for a number of years by just using a Moodle platform, and just putting them into a course and basically just using it as a data repository. So now with the grads, throughout the year they have a number of tasks that they have to complete. So they have to get a 3-month performance development review. They have to get some reviews done by their clinical nurse manager. They have to do some reflections on some of their study days and things like that. There's also, University of Auckland has assessment requirements during that time. So there is a certain amount of transition shock that they experience when they suddenly realise that they're professionally accountable for their actions, and they really need to be acquainted with their care responsibilities. So it's a big change for grads coming into this, and this is why the program is put together to support them. So during the year they gather their evidence. So towards the end of the year, towards October, they basically have their digital artefacts. They have them ready, and then we run a workshop where we show them how to assemble the evidence within Mahara. And we left it fairly open. We thought about doing templates, but we just basically left it open. So previous years, we started the workshop earlier in the year and thought that they would add to it as they progressed during the year, but that didn't happen. So we just make them aware of gathering their data during the year, and then towards the end of the year, they have about a 6-week period really where to compile it and gather the last of their evidence. So we support them again to do that, and that's where they use Mahara to do that. They have a very simple template. Perhaps a little bit of a background of what we've got. So we've got an integrated Moodle Mahara. We're running at the moment Moodle 2.3 and Mahara 1.7. We're about to upgrade that later in August. We run a centralised training record. So when staff do complete a training within the Moodle environment, that is captured electronically and sent to our HRIS. So we have a centralised training record. We don't produce certificates at all. Certificate on its own is of no value in our organisation. We want to see that they have a skill attached with, they're not just attending a training. So the grads is run through a Moodle course, so where I talked about earlier that they have those study days and they produce a reflection on them. They actually upload that reflection for their coordinator, the graduate nurse coordinator, and she reviews them to make sure that they are adequate or they're correct. So they're running that through as submissions, as assignments. And they have basically a community there within that, in that Moodle course, where they seek questions from their peers, and we find that they have a lot of peer support. Someone else can answer the question that they're asking, and the coordinator also moderates that community. So it really is a good foundation for their, sets a really good foundation for that first year. So what does one look like? They're not grand looking, our portfolios. We understand that Mahara can enable very nice portfolios with evidence, but ours are very functional. So the one that I'm showing here on my slide number 9 is just a very simple one with some headings, and you can see I've expanded some of those headings, and under the reflections is just a couple of PDF documents that contain those reflections. So how that works is once the grad has completed their portfolio, they indicate that it's ready for assessment, and then we have assessors. So we have senior nurses throughout the organisation who are trained assessors. They do a program so that they know how to assess. They come into the portfolio, and then they're looking where the evidence is to match the nursing competencies, and then they say whether they've met it or whether they need additional evidence. So it's it's very much a process thing. So that's a very simple example. these grads have gone on to employment. Here's another one where the grad has put a picture of their graduation photo at the end of their study, and they put a nice bit of text about themselves and what they hope to achieve in their chosen career. And then over the right-hand side is, again, just the headings, and tucked under that is all the digital evidence. So it's very much perhaps a data repository at the stage is how we're seeing it. Okay, so what were the results of us doing this? We asked the assessors, because they were the ones, the assessors are the ones who are time poor, working in a busy workplace 24/7, so they have to take time out to do the assessment. And, basically their feedback was fantastic. As I said, they have a New Zealand Qualifications Authority assessment paper. They're senior nurses, and we run a workshop. So they come into the IT training room. So there's a group of about a dozen of them at a time, and we take them through how to do the assessment. And basically, because Mahara is quite intuitive, and this group of assessors know what they're looking for, the assessment process takes about an hour. So they can do quite a comprehensive portfolio because they know the evidence that they're looking for to meet those competencies. And what happens during that, the assessor process that we run, there's also moderation occurs where someone will say, oh, what do you think about this piece of evidence? Is this adequate to meet that competency? And often they will have a discussion amongst themselves and decide whether that's appropriate or not. And perhaps one of the most successful things for this is our Director of Nursing. She takes part in that assessor process as well. So she is marking the graduate's portfolio. So it's very much a cultural change that we've made, and our leadership from our Director of Nursing is quite strong in saying that we should be approaching, looking for different ways to do this, because previously it was a paper-based thing. It was this huge big folder. It was something that people needed a trolley to carry around with, whereas now they can share this with others, which I'm coming to. So the feedback from the assessors was that they could intuitively navigate. They found their way around with really minimal instruction from us, which was fantastic. We gave them resources such that, they had a quick guide on how to do these things, how to message, how to leave feedback, how to navigate and find their way around. So, these things worked really well, and we found that the assessors like to be able to control that process themselves, if you like, and have that one-on-one contact with the staff member, with the graduate who submitted, so they were working with them. And we found also that in a very short period of time, because it only took about an hour for this assessment process, they would request to do another one. So we had some assessors doing, 2 and 3. And this was assessors who had not done perhaps an e-portfolio before, or had not really, used technology well. So it was a great step forward for them. Busy people, they needed a good process. So from the grads, their evaluation, we evaluated them as well. Just not going, it's not, oh, lost it. I've lost my connection.
What page do you want, Anne?
I was up to was it the 12 or 13, the graduate evaluation. My connection's been closed.
Okay. Yeah, we've got graduate evaluation.
Okay, goody. Okay, so we asked a series of questions And bearing in mind that over time for us, by the time we got here, we'd already been doing e-portfolios, a form of e-portfolios for about 4 years. So our IT environment was better developed. We had good access to PCs in the work area, library, and organisationally the culture had changed a little bit. So people were more informed by that. We also found staff, we made time available for staff to do the preparation at work. And I think you can see here on the stats I've got 30% worked from work, so the majority of the work was done from home. I'd say it's just the nature of a busy workplace. The grads really liked that they could export from the Moodle environment into the Mahara environment, so that the work and their assessments that they'd done during the year, they could choose which ones to put into their Mahara environment. They thought that that was really good. They didn't have to go hunting for them or doing anything like that. Social media, really interesting. We thought that they would be right onto this and would use the general forums. This wasn't well taken up, but privately it happened a lot. So they decided to choose who they wanted to share things with. So they would share with maybe one or two of their colleagues in the program, not necessarily with the whole forum. So we thought that that was interesting. So that was something that we had never had the opportunity to see before, and this was something that happened quite well. So they were making a choice whether to use social media or not, rather than, we didn't force it on them. It was just an option, but rather than the general forum, they chose just to message through Mahara. Okay, if we can just flick over to the next one, Teresa, observations and reflections.
Go.
Okay, so what we took away from this process, through the recruitment process, we encourage our graduates to use their portfolio as a marketing tool. So these graduates there was no job guaranteed in the DHB at the end of their graduate program, so they had to apply for jobs. And some, by that time that they were doing their portfolio, were already applying for jobs out in the community. So they were able to share their portfolio. They were able to send, they used a secret URL within the Mahara environment to share their portfolio with those that they chose. And they said that that worked really well. So from that also, where we had just pretty much a free-form area, this year we're going under a template which is just 4 key headings of their professional development, their competency reviews, their work history, and additional evidence. We found that the portfolio is easily shared with others as long as they're within our environment. Externally, it's a little bit more difficult. So we're working on that this year of how we can improve that. And I'm actually going through a process at the moment of putting my performance development review, and I've asked for feedback or for comments on that externally, and that for us is a little bit tricky because we have a closed environment there. Other people can't see those portfolios. So we're sort of we tried this. We think it's working quite well, and we just keep adjusting it as we go along. We've had great, leadership from our Director of Nursing on it. She has an expectation that this is how it'll go for other nursing as well. I think that just sort of leads into that last slide that I've got, is that the outcome from that one that we did within BOP DHB is that now, as part of a regional project that we've got, There will be 5 DHBs, so that's the District Health Boards of Bay of Plenty, Lakes, Tairāwhiti, Taranaki and Waikato, will be using Mahara for the submission of the graduate nurse portfolios, which is around 85 graduates. We think is roughly the number that will be participating, and this will be using one template with each DHB coordinating. So we have what we call a PDRP, which is a professional development recognition program that we are accredited to run by Nursing Council for the assessment of these portfolios. So regionally we do that assessment ourselves, and then Nursing Council can sample a small proportion. So we're working, together to attempt to make this a very efficient process for our grads and supporting them to show how they are a competent nurse at the end of their first year of practice. So that's really my story, if you like. I'm just disappointed that the technology didn't work, and I've had laptops and PCs and my own private one that we just had challenges, so it's disappointing that I can't see and talk to you all, but I'm quite happy on my space, my session space. I did set up these slides separately outside of the big blue button, and also I've got a little forum there, so I'm really happy to take questions on anything like that, and anything that you have. I'm just sorry I can't talk directly with you and see you.
Hopefully this has worked okay, Anne, and I think if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat, and I can relay them. Oh, are you still there, Anne?
I'm still on the phone, but I'm out of the blue button.
That's okay. Richard says working with children, animals and technology is always risky.
Yes. I can relate to the animal part.
Yes, I've got, actually my cat's just recently, just like in the last 5 minutes, walked into the room and jumped up on the table here twice. So,
nice.
Yeah, she wants to be involved as well.
Yeah, nice.
So thank you very much, Anne. I know we did struggle a bit with our technology, but I think this has worked, and I'm really pleased that you could give this presentation.
Yeah, many thanks for your help with the technology, and, great, and like I said, happy to get back to people. Any questions?
Sure, and yeah, so there's no questions here in the chat, but feel free, folks, to just post any you have, and I can relay them, or just use the forum that's in the course. If even if afterwards you might find you think of something after the session, feel free to use that forum.
Lovely. Okay, thanks, Teresa.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye for now.
See you. Okay. Thanks everyone for your patience there. I think we'll leave it at that, and as I say, just use that forum to get in touch with Anne if you need to ask any questions. And her slides are also in the course there. So thanks folks. The next session is just a little over half an hour away, I think.